at a magnitude 7 has struck Indonesia's Tanjung Bar Islands region. The shallow quake hit earlier today, according to seismologists. There are no immediate reports of damage or casualties as of now, but authorities are monitoring for possible aftershocks or tsunami risks. Indonesia sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, as it is called, and is prone to frequent seismic activity. Local officials have urged residents to remain alert as assessments continue in the affected areas, and we will bring you all updates in regards to that developing situation. However, we move to Europe for our first story, where London's Southend Airport in Essex has shut down all operations until further notice after a small aircraft crashed at the site. The plane was a Beech B200 Super King aircraft that normally carries 12 passengers. The passenger plane going from Southend in the UK to Lelystad in the Netherlands. Essex police said that they were called just after 4 p.m. local time following reports of a collision involving a 12-metre aircraft. Emergency services, including police and air accident investigators, remain at the scene of the crash. In a statement posted on X, Southend Airport confirmed that all inbound and outbound flights have been cancelled so far. The airport is located about 35 miles east of central London. The East of England Ambulance Service said it dispatched 4 ambulances along with other emergency vehicles to the scene. Authorities have not yet confirmed how many people were on board the aircraft. The airport's website lists at least 5 cancelled international flights following the incident. We're now joined by Peter Baum, who's the foreign editor of the Weekly Blitz. He joins us live from London. Peter, we saw the visuals of this that came in last night. A fireball would be an accurate description, as eyewitnesses have described. What do we know so far about this accident, and have authorities? What have authorities so far confirmed? Peter, can you hear me? Okay, I believe we're having some technical issues. Peter, can you hear me? Apologies.
I can hear you, sir, no problem.
Okay, brilliant. Peter, what do we know so far about this crash that happened in Essex yesterday? As we've said previously, eyewitnesses called it a fireball. Video footage would say that that is quite accurate. What do we know so far about this crash, Peter?
Okay, sir. Well, I actually live in the area. I live in Southend-on-Sea, which is about 35 miles east of London. And Southend Airport is an overflow airport for the 2 major London airports, Heathrow, Gatwick, and to a lesser extent, London City Airport. So as soon as I was aware of this incident, I drove down there. The emergency services had cordoned off the area, quite rightly so, but they weren't letting in any press or commentators or even family members of those who were waiting to fly off to various locations. And indeed, all those people in the airport had been ushered out by that time. Now, as far as we know, the plane had recently arrived in from Croatia, had landed at Southend Airport for a couple of hours on its way back to the Netherlands. It's owned by a Dutch airline. What is unusual about this crash? We know that it crashed on takeoff, but what hasn't come forward yet, and this is very, very unusual, there has been no confirmation at all of the number of people on board and the fatalities or injuries. Now, if you remember to the incident that you covered very comprehensively, the Air India crash, literally within a couple of hours of that terrible disaster, the Indian authorities and all the administrative organisations had identified to 1 or 2% the number of people on board and the number of fatalities. This is a very small plane that can only take maximum 12 people, and yet the local authorities here and the emergency services have not identified yet any of the fatalities or injuries, and this is 12 hours after the crash. That is in itself very, very unusual, and we don't know whether it's just incompetence or whether there's some more, let's say, mysterious or significant reasons underlying that. We just don't know.
Yes, exactly. As you said, there's obviously limited information. It has been just 12 hours since the crash, not even the casualty number, as you have previously said. Well, what role are the Air Accidents Investigation Branch and the Essex Police now playing in this investigation?
Well, again, I knew that I was coming on this morning at 7 a.m. my time, so at 5 I drove down there to see. It's literally a 20-minute drive from where I am. Again, everything was cordoned off, no access whatsoever. Tried to get information from local sources, of which I have met several, and there's just been a clampdown on information. Tried to phone up my local MP, who I know reasonably well, who's been interviewed on British media. Again, can't get access to him. So I hate to believe in conspiracy theories, and it's a tragic accident, obviously, for all concerned. But there is just such a lack of information that I cannot, with my hand on my heart, be honest with you and NewsX viewers and listeners, to say, look, this is what's happened, this is the cause, etc., etc. What we do know are these planes are they're called the Land Rover of the skies. They're very often used to transport very light freight, and in many cases medical equipment, such as for people needing organ transplants. The organs themselves are very often transported on these planes. So they're a useful, very useful short-haul carrier for light freight. But again, I have such little information, even though I live in the area, even though I'm close to the authorities and close to the, let's say, the powers that be. But there's just such a lack of information that anything other than what I tell you is pure speculation on my part, because the lack of information is quite well. There is no information flow. So I'm staggered, frankly.
Of course, Peter, obviously great not to speculate, but what's the feeling after this crash? Obviously, it was compelling visuals coming out of the incident. What's the feeling in the region that you live in currently?
Great question. You see, the airport is a major source of income for this local economy. Southend is a coastal town. In the 50s and 60s, it used to be a major seaside resort that was packed with holidaymakers every day of the summer holidays, and more recently has lost that attraction as people, as you know, go on holidays to short-haul destinations in France and Spain, Malta, Cyprus, etc. But Southend recently has developed this airport, which, as I said before, is an overflow for the major London airports, and it has been used very frequently every day of the week, and even in the winter they have flights to some sunnier climes. So for the local economy, it will be absolutely devastating that the airport is currently closed and no information whatsoever as to when it will reopen. Now, I guess it may handle maybe 2,000 or 3,000 passengers a day in its peak periods, and all those passengers have now had to reschedule, cancel flights, get in touch with their travel agents, or if they've booked it themselves, make alternative arrangements, etc. Because all the flights that were scheduled to go, obviously at the end of yesterday, today, tomorrow, possibly for another few days ahead, will all have to be cancelled, and those passengers will have to make alternative arrangements. And of course, as I said, it's so important for the local economy that the local hoteliers will lose bookings of people wanting to stay overnight, the restaurants, etc., etc. So for a city such as Southend, it's going to have a devastating blow. And watching the pictures of the when the plane crashed and the fireball, it's actually quite shocking for the area. This is the first time in my lifetime, and I've lived here all my life, that something like this has happened. Quite devastating, quite shocking, and again, quite staggering that there hasn't been more information flow concerning the crash.
Peter Baum, thank you so much for joining us. Some really valuable insight there, and we will bring you